My phone lit up with my mother's name, and I already knew what was coming. Her smugness practically crackled through the line before she even finished her first sentence. "Leah, honey, we just gave David the down payment for his house. A full $100,000. Isn't that wonderful?" I gripped my coffee mug a little tighter, forcing a cheerful tone into my voice. "That's great, Mom. Really great." "Oh, I know. You probably wish you could have helped too, sweetie," she continued, completely oblivious to the ice creeping into my words. "But with your lifestyle choices, we understood you needed to focus on yourself." My lifestyle choices, right? Like building a 7-figure consulting business from scratch. Like covering their mortgage for 3 years when Dad lost his job. Like funding their 40th anniversary cruise last summer because they couldn't possibly afford it. But sure, it's my lifestyle choices that made this impossible. Actually, Mom. Oh, and David's already picked out the most darling colonial in Highland Park. 4 bedrooms. Perfect for when he finally settles down with a nice girl. You remember Grace from church? Her daughter just moved back to town. I let her ramble, my gaze shifting to my laptop. Right on schedule, a notification popped up from my banking app. 3 failed login attempts on the joint account I quietly closed last month. They must have just tried accessing it. Mom. I cut in, the false brightness in my voice slipping. I should go. I have a client meeting. Always working, you know. Oh, Leah, men don't find that very attractive, you know. Bye, Mom. Give my love to Dad. I ended the call and immediately texted my best friend Tessa. It's happening. They just found out. She replied almost instantly. Holy crap. You actually did it. You okay? Was I okay? I stared at my reflection in the window of my sleek modern office. 35 years old, self-made, and finally, done being the family ATM. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time, then Mom, then David. I silenced them all and opened my email, where a message from my lawyer Ezra waited. Account secured. All traces of your involvement removed. They can't touch you now. I should have felt guilty. That's what good daughters feel when they cut off their parents, right? But watching the notifications pile up, the desperate attempts to access money that was never really theirs, I just felt relieved. Tired, yes, but also relieved. Another text from Tessa. Want me to come over? We can drink wine and burn family photos. Rain check, I replied. But there's something you should see. I pulled up a spreadsheet I'd been maintaining for years. Every loan, every emergency payment, every guilt-tripped transfer. The total at the bottom still made my stomach lurch. $341,760. My phone rang again. David this time. I answered, curious. Leah, what the hell? The account's empty. Not empty, I corrected. Closed. There's a difference. But I need that money. The down payment, the renovations. Oh, the $100,000 Mom and Dad just gave you. Seems like you're covered. That's different. This was emergency money. I actually laughed. Your emergencies are not mine, David. I've been handling everyone's emergencies for a decade now. You're being selfish, he spat. You've always been like this, thinking you're better than everyone. No, I cut him off, my tone flat. I've always been convenient. There's a difference. The doorbell rang. I checked my security camera. Mom and Dad looking panicked on my front step. David kept ranting in my ear, but I was already done. David, I have to go. Congratulations on the house. I hung up as my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. I heard what you did. Smart move. Call me. We should talk. Ava. My cousin, the other family exile. I hadn't heard from her in years, not since she'd been branded difficult for questioning our grandmother's will. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. I watched my parents on the camera, their faces growing increasingly desperate. Dad was holding papers, probably bank statements. Mom was crying. I took a deep breath, let it out slowly, and opened my calendar. In exactly 1 month, David's first mortgage payment would be due. In 2 months, Dad's property taxes. In 3, Mom's medical bills. They'd figure it out. They'd have to. Just like I had every time they drained me dry and called it love. My phone buzzed again. Ava's message, ready to finally change the script. I took a deep breath, the weight of years falling from my shoulders. Maybe I was ready. Maybe it was time to rewrite the story. Yeah, I typed back. Let's talk. The first sign that things were about to get messy came 3 days later during Sunday dinner. I'd shown up out of a lingering sense of obligation, the same one that had kept me writing checks and covering emergencies for a decade. Leah, honey, you look tired. Mom fussed her hand, reaching for my shoulder as I set down the bowl of roasted vegetables. Are you eating enough? Working too hard again? I forced a tight smile, extracting myself from her grip. The dining room was thick with the scent of pot roast and passive-aggressive concern. "A woman your age needs to take care of herself," she added, fingers still lingering in the air where my shoulder had been. "You're not getting any younger." I didn't even bother to hide my eye roll. David sat across from me, practically glowing as he detailed the renovations to his new house. "And the kitchen has this beautiful island, perfect for entertaining. Grace already mentioned how nice it'll be for hosting. You remember Grace, right? From church." Oh, I remembered. She was the one Mom had been trying to pair me off with before she figured out that David was the more pliable investment. I speared a potato with my fork, letting the clink of metal against porcelain punctuate his monologue. "Sounds expensive." David's smile tightened for a second before he recovered. "Well, you know it's an investment. Worth every penny." I sipped my wine, letting the rich, dry warmth cut through the cloying atmosphere. "Just curious, how are you managing all this on a car salesman's salary?" A heavy silence fell over the table. Mom's head snapped toward me, a warning in her eyes. Dad's jaw tightened. David cleared his throat. "Well, I've got a plan. You know, making smart financial moves." I leaned back, swirling my glass. "Right. Smart moves like draining a joint account without permission." David's face flushed deep red. He shot a panicked glance at Mom, who looked like she might choke on her own tongue. Leah, Dad cut in his voice rough, trying for a tone of authority that hadn't worked on me since I was a teenager. "This isn't the place." "Oh, I disagree," I said, setting my glass down with a soft clink. "I think this is exactly the place. Family dinner, right time for catching up, sharing news." David's hands were trembling. He picked up his glass, knocking back his drink in one nervous gulp. "I don't know what you're talking about. Really?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice just enough to force everyone at the table to strain to hear. "Because you and Mom made 3 failed attempts to access the joint account I closed last month. Care to explain what you were looking for?" Mom dropped her fork, the sharp clatter echoing around the silent room. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked to Dad, her eyes wide and glassy. "Leah, that account was for emergencies," she stammered. "Family emergencies. And yet somehow it always seemed to fund everyone's emergencies but mine," I shot back. David pushed his chair back, his eyes narrowed. "This is about you being bitter. You've always been jealous." I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Jealous? Of what exactly? Of the endless handouts, the guilt trips, the emotional blackmail?" "No, David, I'm not jealous. I'm just done." He stood abruptly, his chair scraping harshly against the polished wood floor. "You're making a scene." "Am I?" I stood too, matching his height, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Or am I finally refusing to play the part you all wrote for me?" Dad's voice, low and shaking with suppressed rage, cut through the tension. "Sit down, both of you." I took a deep breath, my pulse slowing, my vision narrowing to a pinpoint of clarity. "No, I'm done sitting down. I'm done staying quiet while you all treat me like the family ATM." David's fist clenched, and for a second I thought he might actually take a swing at me. Instead, he just spat out, "Fine. Walk away. But don't come crawling back when you need us." I met his glare, my voice low but clear. "I've never needed you. That's the difference." I turned on my heel and walked out, the stunned silence trailing me down the hall, through the front door and into the cool night air. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed in my pocket. "Ava, ready to burn it all down yet?" I looked back at the house, the windows glowing warmly, a picture of family unity that had always been more mirage than reality. "More than ready," I typed back. I got in my car, the engine rumbling to life as I pulled away. Behind me, the house stood silent and still, a hollow monument to decades of debt obligation and carefully polished lies. They'd tried to keep me small, to break me down, to drain me dry. But I was done, and I was just getting started. A week passed. I should have felt a sense of freedom, but the chaos I'd set in motion had only just begun to ripple through the family. The first wave hit on a rainy Thursday evening, just as I was wrapping up a client call. My phone buzzed, lighting up with a call from my mother. I considered letting it ring out but decided to answer. Better to know what fresh manipulation she had planned. Leah, Mom's voice came through, already trembling. "We need to talk, it's about David." I sighed, leaning back in my chair. I could hear the faint hum of their old refrigerator in the background, the clink of glass, probably Dad pouring himself another stress reliever. "What about him?" I asked, keeping my tone cool. He missed his first mortgage payment." She hesitated, as if expecting me to gasp in shock or leap into action. When I didn't, she pressed on. "The bank called us. He's 3 weeks late." I pinched the bridge of my nose, fighting the wave of irritation. Of course he was already struggling. That 100 grand hadn't even covered half of the down payment. The rest had come from a combination of small high-interest loans and my parents' depleted savings. And this is my problem because I let the question hang in the air, relishing the rare moment of power. "Leah, don't be cruel," she snapped, her tone shifting from wounded to sharp. "You know how hard things have been for us. We assumed you'd help if he needed it. You always have before." I let out a bitter laugh. "And that's the problem, isn't it, Mom? You all just assumed I'd keep cleaning up your messes forever, that I'd keep sacrificing my stability for David's emergencies without a second thought." She sputtered, caught off guard by the steel in my voice. But family helps family." I leaned forward, staring at the rain streaking down my office window, each droplet reflecting the years of unspoken resentment I'd carried. Funny how that only ever seemed to apply when I was the one doing the helping. Silence crackled down the line, the kind that feels like a snapped cord. A bridge finally burned. "You're not being fair," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We raised you. We sacrificed for you." Sacrificed. My voice rose sharper than I intended. "Let's review, shall we? I covered your mortgage for 3 years when Dad lost his job. I funded your anniversary cruise. I bailed you out when you nearly lost the house to foreclosure. And now you're asking me to dig into my own future, again, for David's poor life choices. It's not the same," she stammered. "Why?" "Because this time I said no. Because this time I chose myself over your endless demands." "Leah, you're being dramatic. This isn't about you, it's about your brother." I took a deep breath, forcing my pulse to slow. "No, Mom. It's always been about him, and I'm done letting it be." A long silence stretched between us, the weight of decades pressing down like a storm front. "Is this because you're still single?" she finally whispered, her voice small as if she'd stumbled upon the secret reason for my newfound defiance. "You're bitter because you don't have a family of your own." I nearly laughed, the absurdity of it cutting through my frustration. "Wow, you really have to dig deep to find a way to make this my fault, don't you?" She started to cry, the soft, gasping sobs that had once been my kryptonite, the ones that had guilt-tripped me into paying off their second mortgage and funding David's last business flop. But now they just sounded hollow, like an echo in an empty house. "You're going to ruin this family," she choked out. "You're going to destroy us." "No, Mom," I said, my voice cold and steady. "You destroyed this family the moment you decided to treat me like an ATM. I'm just refusing to let you do it anymore." I hung up, my hands shaking but my heart feeling lighter than it had in years. A text from Ava lit up my phone almost immediately. I heard, "Ready to really cut the cord?" I exhaled slowly, my fingers hovering over the screen for a long moment. Then I typed back, "Yeah, I'm ready." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the city lights blinking through the rain-soaked glass. I had spent years bending, breaking, and bleeding for my family. But tonight I had finally chosen myself. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. It didn't take long for the real fallout to start. By the end of the week, David had left me 5 more voicemails, each more frantic than the last. And Mom had taken to sending long, rambling text messages about family unity, the importance of forgiveness, and how I was tearing us apart. I deleted them all without a second thought. Then came the Facebook post. It popped up on a Friday evening as I was winding down with a glass of wine and some mindless reality TV. Mom's profile picture, a decades-old shot of her and Dad on their wedding day, back when everything seemed pure and promises felt unbreakable, lit up my notifications. With heavy hearts, we ask for prayers during this difficult time. Our family is facing challenges, but we know that with faith and love, we can heal. Family. First, blood is thicker. I felt a flicker of annoyance, but brushed it off. Classic emotional manipulation. Then I noticed the comments. "Praying for you, Linda. Family can be so hard. Stay strong, God will guide you. You raised such wonderful children. This too shall pass." And then nestled among the sympathy and digital hand-wringing was a comment from Grace, David's girlfriend, that made my blood run cold. "Thinking of you guys. David mentioned the financial troubles. Hope everything gets sorted soon. Let me know if you need anything." Financial troubles. My jaw tightened. David had already started spreading his own version of the story, painting himself as the victim. I opened a group chat with Tessa and Ava. "Me? You guys see this, Tessa? Oh my God. Are they really playing the victim card, Ava? Not surprising. They can't stand not controlling the narrative. You ready to hit back?" I paused, the stem of my wine glass cool between my fingers. I had been holding back, trying to take the high road to walk away quietly without dragging the whole messy family history into public view. But they had thrown the first stone. Me, yeah, it's time. I set my wine down, opened my laptop, and pulled up the folder I'd been quietly building for years. Receipts. Every transaction, every wire transfer, every late-night Venmo payment when David had blown through his rent money again. Every time my parents had borrowed to cover another one of his investments. Every time I had paid off a credit card bill to keep their lives afloat. I bundled the files into a single PDF, slapped a bold, unmistakable title on the cover, Family Financial Support, 2015 to 2023, and attached it to a fresh email. To Linda, Richard David, subject, let's set the record straight. Dear family, since it seems there's been some confusion about where our family's financial troubles actually started, I thought it would be helpful to clarify. Please see the attached document. It includes every dollar I've paid, every bill I've covered, and every emergency I've resolved on your behalf over the past 8 years. I am done playing the silent benefactor. I am done being the scapegoat for your bad decisions. You are adults. You made your choices. Now it's time to live with them. Leah. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Ava's text came in almost immediately. Ava. That's my girl. Now watch the fireworks. It took less than an hour. First, a missed call from David. Then another. Then one from Dad. I let them all ring out, my phone vibrating itself across my desk as I poured another glass of wine. Then the inevitable. Mom. How could you do this to us? This is cruel. You're destroying this family. I felt a slow, bitter smile spread across my face. Destroying the family. They had done that themselves brick by brick every time they chose to bleed me dry to prop up David's fragile ego. I typed back, my fingers flying over the screen. Me no, Mom. I'm just done being the foundation you all stand on. Figure it out. I closed the message, took a long sip of my wine, and stared out at the glittering city lights. For the first time in years, I felt something that had become a distant memory. Freedom. By the next morning, the family group chat was in flames. Mom had moved on from guilt to outright rage. Dad had broken his usual silence to demand I show some respect, and David, predictably, had unleashed a tirade of self-pity that would have been impressive if it weren't so transparently pathetic. David, you really think you're better than us, don't you? Just because you have money? You've always been a selfish, ungrateful brat. I rolled my eyes, leaning back in my chair as I read his message. This was the same brother who had once borrowed $5,000 for a business opportunity that had turned out to be a multi-level marketing scheme involving overpriced protein shakes. I cracked my knuckles, ready to type a response, but another message came through before I could start. Ava. I saw the group chat. They're spiraling. Want to take this to the next level? I smirked, feeling the old familiar heat of revenge flare up in my chest. I had spent years quietly cleaning up their messes, covering for their failures, and sacrificing my own stability for the sake of family. But now it was my turn to rewrite the script. Me? Oh, I'm ready. What do you have in mind? Ava's reply came quickly, a rapid-fire series of texts that felt like a battle plan. Ava. They're counting on you to cave, to crack under the pressure. That's their whole play, emotional blackmail. But they've got skeletons and I have the receipts. Meet me for lunch. I glanced at my calendar. I had a client call in 2 hours, but suddenly that felt like a low priority. Me, see you in an hour. We met at a small, sunlit cafe downtown, the kind of place where the hum of espresso machines and clinking glassware provided the perfect cover for plotting. Ava was already at a corner table, her laptop open and a folder thick with documents beside her coffee cup. Ordered your favorite, she said as I slid into the chair across from her. Thanks. I reached for the coffee, the rich aroma cutting through the tension thrumming in my veins. What have you got? Ava's eyes sparkled with the same fire I remembered from childhood. She had always been the rebellious one, the cousin who got grounded for speaking out, the one they whispered about at family reunions. Remember that trust fund Grandma set up, the one we were supposed to split, she asked. Flipping open the folder, I frowned, my mind flicking back to the will reading years ago. Yeah, but they said it dried up. That it had been spent on medical bills and house repairs. She snorted. That's what they told me too. But I dug a little deeper. She slid a stack of papers across the table. Bank statements, wire transfers, real estate records. My eyes scanned the documents, my pulse quickening as the pieces fell into place. They drained it. Ava said, her voice low but fierce. Not for medical bills, but for David's first failed business. The one with the golf simulator nonsense. And when that tanked, they started funneling the rest into his down payment. My hands tightened around the coffee cup, the ceramic warm against my suddenly cold fingers. So they stole our inheritance to prop up David's lifestyle. Ava nodded, her jaw clenched. And they thought we'd never figure it out, or if we did, we'd just forgive them like always. I felt a slow, dark smile spread across my face. Oh, they picked the wrong cousins to underestimate. Ava leaned forward, her eyes blazing. I say we go public. They want to air dirty laundry on Facebook, fine. Let's show them what a real scandal looks like. I leaned back, the old familiar fire of rebellion sparking to life in my chest. I had tried to walk away quietly to let them live with the consequences of their own choices, but they had pushed too far. Let's burn it down, I said, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. By the time I got back to my office, my phone was vibrating again. More missed calls from Mom, another tear-soaked voicemail from Dad, and a series of increasingly unhinged texts from David. I ignored them all, settling into my desk chair as I opened my laptop. I pulled up the family group chat, took a deep breath, and started typing. Me. Just so we're clear, this isn't about money. It's about boundaries. It's about years of being used, manipulated, and lied to. And it's about time you started living with the choices you made. I attached Ava's folder, a neatly organized PDF with every stolen dollar, every shady transfer, every lie they'd ever tried to bury. Me, you want to play the victim. Be my guest. But don't expect me to play the fool. I hit send, leaned back, and took a long, deep breath. Mom's reply came first, a frantic wall of text that I didn't even bother to read. Then David's messages, a rapid, incoherent mess of accusations and half-baked threats. Finally, Dad. One simple, chilling line. Dad, if you do this, you're dead to us. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering in my chest. For a moment, the old guilt flickered, that deep-seated fear of being cast out, of losing the only family I had ever known. But then I remembered the years of sacrifice, the sleepless nights, the endless guilt trips, and emotional manipulation. I remembered the girl I had been, the one who had emptied her savings to cover her parents' mortgage, who had given up vacations, new cars, and peace of mind to keep them afloat. And I remembered the woman I had become, the one who had finally found the courage to say no more. I closed the group chat, took another sip of my coffee, and smiled. They had always warned me not to bite the hand that feeds me. They just never realized I was the one doing the feeding. A week after the group chat detonation, I found myself sitting across from Ava in the same corner cafe, the hum of the espresso machine and clinking of ceramic cups filling the space between us. This time she looked more relaxed, a satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth as she sipped her latte. They're unraveling, she said, flipping her phone around to show me the latest updates. David's Instagram is a mess. He's been posting those passive-aggressive loyalty over everything memes, and Mom is still fishing for sympathy on Facebook. I laughed, the sound coming easier than it had in weeks. Of course she is. Gotta keep the narrative tight. Ava's eyes sparkled as she leaned in, lowering her voice. You know what the best part is? I got a call from my old friend over at First National. Apparently David tried to refinance his mortgage and got denied. Turns out a recent credit check flagged him as high risk. I nearly choked on my coffee. You mean he actually thought the bank would bail him out again? Ava smirked. He probably figured you'd swoop in to fix it. Old habits die hard. I leaned back, letting the warmth of the coffee seep into my hands. Not this time. She tilted her head, her gaze sharp. You know they're going to try to turn this around on you, right? Play the long game. Paint you as the cold, heartless daughter who abandoned her family. I sighed, setting my cup down. Let them. I'm done trying to manage their perception of me. I wasted too many years on that. Ava nodded, a quiet understanding passing between us. For a long time, we had both played the roles they had written for us. The dutiful daughters, the financial safety nets, the emotional shock absorbers. But not anymore. By the way, Ava said, tapping her phone with a wicked grin, I may have made a little insurance policy. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, she slid her phone across the table. On the screen was a draft email addressed to every extended family member, complete with attachments. The same PDF of financial records I had sent to my parents, but with a few added goodies. Old photos of family vacations I had paid for. Screenshots of text messages where my parents had promised to pay me back for various emergencies. The will documents that showed how they had siphoned off our inheritance. My jaw dropped. Ava, this is nuclear. She leaned back, crossing her arms. Exactly. I'm tired of playing nice. They want to paint us as the villains. Fine, let's give them a real reason to be afraid. I felt a slow, dangerous smile spread across my face. You know what? Do it. She hit send without a second of hesitation, her finger tapping the screen with a finality that felt like the slam of a courtroom gavel. That night, the fallout began. My phone lit up with a call from Dad just as I was pouring myself a glass of wine. I watched it ring. The screen glowing with his name, the same name I had seen on countless checks and loan documents over the years. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts. Mom, how could you do this? You've humiliated us. David, you've ruined my life. You selfish, ungrateful pig. Dad, you're no daughter of mine. I set my phone down, picked up my wine, and stepped out onto my balcony. The city lights stretched out before me, a glittering reminder of the life I had built for myself, the freedom I had clawed my way to. They could rage, they could scream, they could try to guilt me back into their grasp, but I was done. I took a long sip, letting the wine's warmth spread through me, grounding me, reminding me of my own strength. The next morning, the real chaos hit. Ava texted me a screenshot of a family group chat. The extended one, the one with aunts, uncles, cousins, and that one great aunt who always sent Christmas cards with $20 bills taped inside. It was chaos. Aunt Maria. I had no idea you girls went through all this. This is awful. Cousin Rachel. Wait, what about the trust fund Grandma left us? Did they spend that too? Uncle John, Richard, Linda. We need to talk now. Great Aunt Claire, I'm so disappointed in you, Linda. I thought you were better than this. I burst out laughing, the sound startling even to my own ears. They're eating each other alive. I texted Ava, my fingers trembling with adrenaline. Her reply came a moment later. Ava told you. They underestimated us. Again. A week later, I got a final message from Dad. Dad, you've made your point. We can talk if you're ready to act like family again. I stared at the message for a long moment, my mind swirling with memories. Of late-night calls for money, of sacrificed vacations, of tearful guilt trips and gaslit arguments. Then I deleted the message, blocked the number, and turned my phone off. I had tried to walk away quietly. I had tried to set boundaries. But they had pushed and I had pushed back. And now, for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. I raised my glass to the empty room, the clink of crystal against my palm echoing through my apartment. To freedom, I whispered, my voice steady, my heart light. And I drank to the sound of my own liberation. Story 2. Family meals have a tendency of beginning with smiles and ending with daggers. The only difference tonight was that the daggers had a price tag. Specifically, $80,000. My name is Louisa, and over the last 10 years I've mastered the skill of avoiding my brother Arthur's and his wife Valerie's passive-aggressive remarks. Usually it's about how I'm wasting my youth by not getting married, my self-centered work decisions, or the fact that I'm unmarried. I have mastered the art of letting their words flow from me like water. Give the salt. The sound of cutlery clinking was interrupted by Valerie's sweet voice. Arthur had gotten her a pearl necklace for Christmas and she was wearing it. She was careful to assure me that the one was genuine, not jewelry for a costume. As she viewed my jacket while still dressed for work and attending family dinner, I noticed the customary disapproving expression on her face and handed her the shaker. There are certain things that never change. A few of us gather in the evenings. Taking a sip of water, I answered. I learned to keep my observations to myself, but the pasta was overdone. Arthur cleared his throat. Regarding work, he and Valerie exchanged a glance that made my stomach knot. We've been meaning to discuss something significant with you. We discovered the ideal home. Valerie went right in. Her eyes glowed. There are 4 bedrooms, beautiful backyard, fantastic school district. It fulfills all of our dreams. That's fantastic. As I waited for the other shoe to drop, I said hesitantly. Arthur leaned forward, which is the problem. We don't have enough money for the down payment. To protect it, we need $50,000. I paused in the middle of my bite. Please pardon me. We have been considering our choices, as though we were talking about borrowing a cup of sugar, Valerie went on. Additionally, you're succeeding in whatever you do in the IT software development field. They never bothered to recall, but I made the correction on the fly. Correct. You have a lot of extra money, though. Being unmarried and everything. No actual obligations. I could see Valerie was making a conscious move when her hand moved to her tummy. Because of your family, we reasoned. Do you want $50,000 from me? I put my fork down on the metal, clicking harder than I had to on the porcelain. Not allow Arthur to interrupt. Consider it an investment in your nieces and nephews of the future. I chuckled. I was unable to resist. Are you serious? This is just what I predicted would occur. Valerie gave Arthur a hiss. When it comes to money, she has always been self-centered. Selfish. I pushed back my chair. You arrive for dinner and ask for $50,000, as if I'm selfish and you have a right to my savings. That apartment in the heart of the city is yours, Arthur's voice lifted. You used the money I earned to pay for those lavish vacations. While you were telling me that I was wasting my time on startups, I cut him off every money. When Valerie posted about how I die alone with my laptop, I was working 80-hour weeks. I was constructing something. No, I would say. Even your family wouldn't expect you to do this. Arthur got to his feet. He blushed. For your own brother, family is reciprocal. When was the last time you both inquired about my life without really visiting Arthur? What am I doing incorrectly? Valerie squinted her eyes. Here we're working to create a true family and a future. However, I suppose you wouldn't comprehend that idea. I completely get it. I reached for my handbag. I am aware that you believe you have a greater claim to my money than I do since you are married. I am aware that both of you have spent years demeaning me because I made a different decision. Furthermore, I realize that this supper was only another ploy. This is something you'll regret. I made my way to the door and Arthur yelled after me. Family is meant to support family. I made one final spin around. You're correct. Family is meant to support family. The next time you need anything from your egotistical sister, keep that in mind. Streetlights and muffled shouts in my apartment filled the trip home. I gripped the marble counter until my knuckles became white as I stood in front of the bathroom mirror. That was a bad thing for you to do. I spoke softly to my own image. However, I wasn't referring to turning down the money. I was discussing my next course of action. It buzzed on my phone. Valerie sent a message. I hope you're content with your decision to put money above family. You ended up becoming a sister. My calm, icy smile at the screen would have startled them both since they were unaware that I was more than simply a software developer, something they had never bothered to inquire about. I had had enough of playing small as the founder and CEO of Axion Tech. I had a dream in my laptop and a mattress on the floor of my studio apartment 6 years ago when I was eating ramen noodles. Today, when my HR director Sylvia lays a familiar CV on my desk, I sit in my corner office and watch the city shine 40 stories below. She claims it's another senior developer application. Excellent references and a solid background. However, this one has an intriguing quality. As I take up the paper, my coffee almost falls out of my hand. I see Arthur's name in a crisp, business-like typeface. Are you all right? Sylvia notices my response and asks, do you recall what I said about my brother? I return the resume. Get to know the candidate. Sylvia's gaze expands. Oh, whoa, what a surprise. Do I have to turn it down? I recline on my chair, reliving memories. The night I introduced the first product from Axiom Tech. I was so happy to report my triumph that I contacted Arthur. He would interrupt me in the middle of a sentence to discuss his recent promotion. Valerie had talked about her friend's wedding during the whole family meal when our site reached 1 million users. No, I say, take your time and think things through normally, but I want to be in charge of the last interview. My phone is buzzing. Talk about the devil, Arthur texted. Fantastic news. Axion Tech gave me an interview. They're the next big thing I've heard. Leaving this unfulfilling work at last. That's fantastic. My fingers were shaking a little as I responded back. I wish you luck. Later, with our customary afternoon coffee, my oldest friend and CTO Lionel stops by. Has your brother's application been heard? He says, shutting the door to my office. Are you certain about this? Do you recall when I founded Axion Tech, I inquire? Taking the coffee. I had 2 jobs. Till 3 a.m., coding. Arthur informed everyone that rather than pursuing a legitimate profession, I was playing entrepreneur. You sobbed at that Thai restaurant, I recall. I wasn't in tears. I ate some hot noodles. You must have been sobbing, Lou. In spite of me, I smile. The important thing is that I created this business when they were making fun of my decisions. Because I wanted to achieve success on my own terms, I avoided having my name used in the media and always used LJ Green when I appeared in public. Now, however, your brother is now directly stepping into your web. Lionel furrows his brow. To me, that sounds like karma. My PC is pinging. An email from venture capitalist Keith Olson, who has spent months attempting to acquire stock in Axion Tech. Additionally, he is a former college classmate who is well aware of my identity. I mutter as I open the mail, talking of webs. Keith is threatening to unintentionally divulge who I am at the tech conference the following week. Do you want me to do it? I give a head shake. I'm capable. In addition, I need to tackle a more intriguing challenge. I open the schedule for Arthur's interview. Would you be interested in watching a very unique final round? The following week is a haze of getting ready. I'm picky about what I wear. A plain black outfit that doesn't resemble the clothes I often wear as CEO. I set up the meeting space such that my nameplate is hidden until the appropriate time. An hour prior to the interview, Sylvia peeks in. He arrives early, very self-assured, kept telling the receptionist about his innate leadership abilities. It sounds like Arthur. As I adjust my laptop, I say, Valerie is waiting in the foyer. How is she claims that she is his lucky charm? Excellent. Arthur arrives at precisely 200 p.m. with a practicing grin and well-maintained sneakers. At first, he doesn't recognize me, too busy looking around for the CEO he's anticipating. Have a seat, please? Softly, I say. He smiles as he sits still. Thank you. I'm eager to do so. As recognition dawns, his voice falters. Louisa. I grab my nameplate and flip it around. Actually, that CEO gave you the go light. He loses the color in his face. You are Axion Tech's founder and CEO. Indeed. Startled, I speak in a professional tone. Be calm. I think 2 years ago at Thanksgiving you referred to it as my little computer project. It's not. You can't really. Can't what create my own wealth, Arthur, and manage a prosperous tech business. Or perhaps I slant forward a little. Do you believe I am incapable of determining your suitability for a position with me? He swallows forcefully. Take a look at the other evening. Yes, we will discuss it. I open his file and say, let's talk about your team leadership experience first, though. I would especially want to know what you think about familial loyalty. Every bowl of ramen I've ever had is worth it for the expression on his face. During a board meeting, I hear my mother's voicemail. Valerie has been sobbing all week, Louisa, honey. I realize that things are stressful right now. Sweetheart, they truly need this house. Family must come first at times. With my heels clicking on marble, I leave the conference room and call Marin, my best friend. They reached Mom. When she picks up, I say, they did, of course. Through the speaker, Marin's voice crackles. It's likely that Valerie has been working her magic there every day. What was said by your mother? The typical guilt trip. First family, like it's been years since I was their personal ATM. Block them, replies Marin curtly. Each and every one. This poison is not necessary for you. A text buzzes on my phone. Valerie, once more, I just wanted to let you know that I'm expecting. But I suppose you don't care about my baby's future. Oh God, I'm breathing. Marin, she is expecting a child, and she should be entitled to your money because of it. My helper bursts in before I can reply. Keith Olson is here, Miss Green. Send him in even if he doesn't have an appointment. I iron my jacket. Marin, I'll give you a call back. Like he owns my workplace. Keith strolls in. Louisa, or maybe more accurately, the enigmatic L.J. Green. Keith, what do you want? I wanted to see whether you had given my offer another look. $10 million for a 20% share. Before someone unintentionally reveals your true identity at tomorrow's tech conference, he settles onto the chair across from me. I bend forward. It seems uncomfortably similar to blackmail. Keith, insurance, investors are waiting for me. My phone is all I need. Enlivens the family group conversation. The message from Arthur appears. Mom is inconsolable. I hope you're content. I turn back to Keith and end the call. I want to be clear. I can't be forced to sell by you, and I give you a chilly grin if you try to reveal who I am. Regarding your creative accounting at your previous 3 businesses, I have some really fascinating emails. Keith grins hesitantly. You're playing a bluff. Give me a try. I open my laptop and put a message into the family group chat after he departs. My rules, my money. Quit inquiring. There is instantaneous anarchy. Mom, please, Louisa, be sensible. Arthur, very mature. Sister, Valerie, I anticipated your behavior, so self-centered. I end the conversation and open Instagram. It's there. The news of Valerie's pregnancy. An artistically staged picture of her clutching her tummy, reading the caption. Some individuals choose for material prosperity. We decide on family. Harsher. God bless you. Fresh life. Priorities should be plotted. Lionel enters my office as soon as the door opens. Are you all right? You appear to be prepared to fling that phone out of a window. I'm all right. I'm not doing well. Have you viewed the tapes of the interviews? Yes. Arthur was fascinating. Technical proficiency is strong, however. However, he spent 10 minutes describing how, as the eldest brother, he naturally assumes a leadership role. It has to do with helping his younger sister navigate life. Lionel's eyebrow goes up. Can you guess who he was referring to? I chuckle sourly, directing myself. When I launched this business, he told me I was wasting my time. What is the plan then? I'm still undecided. I look out the window. Just having him report to me every day makes me want to hire him. That's nothing. Linnell smiles. I enjoy it. Once more my phone buzzes. Arthur's private message. Look, this job would alter my life, but I know you're upset about the money. I am currently expecting a baby. Surely you wouldn't discipline your own niece or nephew? I mutter, still using gold like a weapon. Lionel says gently, you know, you could just stop it. Identify yourself to them. Observe their reactions upon realizing how careless their sibling is. No, I get up and pace. Not quite yet. First, they must learn something, which is that there are repercussions for acts, that you cannot expect aid after treating people like trash for years. Sometimes the person you're gazing down on is actually looking down on you, so I pause at that window. A final message from Valerie appears on my phone. Tomorrow is family supper. Mom is adamant. It's time to apologize and act like a grown-up. I return 2 words to the keyboard. Can't make it. I block them all after that. Are you certain about this? Lionel queries. I recall years of mocking remarks being viewed as a failure and having my accomplishments minimized and disregarded. Yes, I agree. I have no doubt that today's conference room seems different. Colder. Not so much a conference room as an arena. I straighten my plain black dress. When I gaze at my reflection in the darkened window, I see that the lady gazing back at me is quite different from my typical CEO dress. Arthur enjoys patronizing others. With her head sticking in, Sylvia declares 5 minutes. He and Valerie are in the lobby. She is leaving a lasting effect. Telling everyone how this job is supposed to be, I suppose. In reality, she is describing to the receptionist how her husband will transform the business. Sylvia smiles. Should I let her know that the CEO might think about that? Not quite yet. I take a seat and move my laptop so that my nameplate is hidden. Let's add some interest to this. Lionel sits down next to me. Ready for a tablet? The final opportunity to withdraw. Lou, no way. Arthur enters as if he's already been assigned to the position as the door opens. The fact that there are just 3 people in the room makes him a little less confident. Have a seat, please. Silently, I say. All we have to do is wait for our CEO. Naturally. His tie is smoothed. I must admit that this chance excites me. I've been keeping up with Axiom Tech's expansion, and I firmly believe I could lead the development team to greater heights. Really, I speak in a neutral tone. Give us additional details about that. Well, even in my family, I've always been a born leader. You see, I'm the older sibling. My sister never completely understood, but I had to teach her the ropes. He falters, at last, genuinely observing me. Hold on. I grab my nameplate and flip it around. Please go ahead. Your leadership experience intrigues me. He loses the color in his face. You are Louisa. This is unexpected. I assume that the business you're so keen to transform was founded by your younger sister. It's not. You can't. He gives Lionel a desperate glance. Could this be a joke? No joke, answers Lionel coolly. 6 years ago, when you were pushing her to get a real career, she started Axiom Tech. If my memory serves me well. Arthur grips his portfolio tightly. Thus, the entire interview procedure was really a prelude. Retaliation for not providing you with the attention you desired. Pay attention. I chuckle. You and Valerie have been treating me like I was a waste of time for years, Arthur. Then you dared to ask me for $50,000. For what reason? I didn't really have any obligations. That was not the same. We are related. Family. I open his file. Let's discuss family. I released our first product 3 years ago. What did you tell your mother? He shifted uneasily. I can't recall. I quote you when you say, Louisa can come work for me, at least when her little computer project fails. Are you curious about our current valuation? See, I had no idea. $200 million. I interrupted him. That's the value of my small computer project. What's the best part, you ask? I wanted to prosper without familial ties. Therefore, I kept my identity a secret. Nevertheless, you entered my office directly. His expression hardens. That's it then. To make a statement, you're going to turn me away. Arthur? No. I'll give you a fair assessment. The same as every other applicant. I open his technical evaluation. For the following half hour, let's talk about the outcomes of your coding test. I question him professionally while seeing his trembling when he discovers how much his little sister knows about his line of work. He slumps in his chair with every technical query. One last query, I say as I shut down my laptop. If someone doesn't respect me, why should I hire them? It's unfair. Is it not? You accused me of being selfish last week for not handing you my money. For years, you have disregarded my professional choices. Your wife makes passive-aggressive remarks regarding my decisions in life. Why would I want my business to have that kind of energy? He whispers, because I'm your brother. I also require this. On one point, you're correct. My brother is you. This makes it non-personal. I get to my feet. It's business. Additionally, we hire value-adding individuals in business, not remove it. Please, Louisa, I appreciate you entering Arthur. Sylvia will take you on a tour. I collect my belongings. And in the lobby when you spot Valerie, inform her. Congratulations on your pregnancy, the CEO said. Family is everything. After all, I walk out leaving him sitting there. His world turned upside down. Through the glass walls, I see Valerie's face as Arthur emerges defeated. She looks up at the executive floor and for a moment our eyes meet. I smile and wave just a little before turning away. Sometimes karma doesn't need a push. Sometimes it just needs an audience. The rejection email sits in my drafts folder for exactly 3 minutes before I hit send. Expert, courteous, final. While your technical skills are impressive, we don't feel you're the right cultural fit for Axion Tech at this time. My phone explodes immediately. First, Arthur. Are you serious after everything? Then, Valerie, you vindictive bitch. Mom, please call me. We need to talk about what you're doing to this family. I silence them all and turn to Lionel, who's been watching from my office couch. Was it too much? Probably. He shrugs, but so is demanding 50 grand and calling you selfish. My office phone buzzes. Miss Green, your brother's wife is here. She's insisting. Of course she is. I straighten my desk. Send her up. You want backup? Lena asks. No. This is between sisters-in-law. Valerie bursts in like a storm in designer heels, her face flushed. How dare you? Good morning to you too, Valerie. Have a seat, please. Don't you patronize me. She smashes her hands on my desk. You put this whole thing up, didn't you? Got some sick pleasure watching Arthur squirm? Actually, Arthur replied all on his own. Karma's funny that way. Karma, she laughs bitterly. You're the CEO of Axion Tech. All this time while we were worried about you wasting your life? You were what? Laughing at us, no Val. I was working. Building something. Remember all those family dinners I missed on those leisurely weekends you made fun of me? I was present. You never asked, did you? I was coding. Oh, please. You had the opportunity to explain why. So you could ask for more than 50,000? She flinches. It's unfair. We're having a baby, which doesn't entitle you to my money. I get to my feet. Let me show you something. I lead her to the window pointing to the building across the street. See that studio apartment on the 20th floor? I lived there when I started this company. No furniture except a mattress on the floor. And a desk I constructed from used pallets. Want to know what you and Arthur were doing then? She keeps mute. You were writing about my miserable single existence on Facebook, making jokes about my adorable little computer pastime at Christmas, telling everyone how frightened you were about my future. We were attempting to help. No, you were attempting to feel superior. I turn to face her. And now that you know the truth, you're not furious that you injured me. You're furious because I'm not who you thought I was. Someone you could look down on. That's not. She freezes her fingers, sliding to her tummy. We truly do need that house, Louisa. I then advise Arthur to resume his employment search. I've heard that the city is home to many IT enterprises. They may want to look up his references, but I return to my desk. You wouldn't. I wouldn't need to. In IT circles, word spreads. I'm not vengeful, but I do sit down. Valerie, I just finished serving as your ATM. You mean you're done being family? Family members treat one another with respect. Rather of attempting to minimize accomplishment, family welcomes it. Family doesn't use deception and guilt trips to demand money. Her phone rings. Arthur, presumably curious about the situation. After checking it, she glances up, her eyes watering. This employment was much required by him. I understand, but there was more for him to learn. In other words, the sister he believed he was superior to has always been superior to him. I hit the intercom button. Please take Ms. Green out, Sylvia. Valerie's shoulders straighten. It's not over yet. It is, in fact. Oh, Val too. I provide a charming smile. Arthur got you those pearls for Christmas last year. You were careful to convince me that the ones were genuine. The jeweler is someone I know. They're not real. Leon. Everyone returns in once she left. It was chilly. What do the pearls say? Yes, perhaps. I lean back in my seat. But there has to be the end of 6 years of disdain. Are you all right? I check my phone. There were 27 missed calls, 43 messages. The chaos in the household is already underway. No, I acknowledge. However, I will be. Would you want to go out to dinner, that new 5th place position? Is it not possible for me to meet with our attorneys? I open my calendar. No matter how entitled they may feel, it's time to ensure that my family cannot have any influence over this business. Lionel's statement is unquestionably cold. No, I correct him. That's business. When my mother unexpectedly shows up, the lawyers are still in my office. Through the glass walls, I can see her at reception arguing with Sylvia. She's dressed in the blue dress she keeps for interventions and graduations, her serious conversation outfit. We must conclude this, I inform the legal staff. Family crisis. Coming? Mom bursts into the door just as they're leaving. Have you done anything, Mom? Hello to you as well. Come in, please. Don't try to outwit me. She leaves her handbag on my desk. Your brother is heartbroken. Valerie's been weeping for hours and you're sitting here in your lovely office acting CEO. I'm not playing anything, Mama. This is my firm. I created it by lying to us for years, hiding your achievement. For what purpose? A little of twisted retaliation. I take out my phone and listen to her voicemail from the previous week. The room is filled with her own voice. Sometimes we have to prioritize our family, Louisa, honey. Interesting word choice. Stop the playback, I say. When Arthur and Valerie were making fun of my work, where was family first? At what point did anyone in this family prioritize me? That's not the same, as I am the younger of the 2 sisters. Since I'm not dating. Or because you all believed Arthur was more successful than me till now. She takes a deep seat. We were concerned that you were evaluating me. There is a distinction. I bent over. Did you know that in order to launch this business, I worked 80-hour weeks and lived off of ramen for 2 years? That my own family believed I was a failure, so on some evenings I sobbed myself to sleep. How come you didn't inform us? Would it have made a difference, or would you have just requested funds earlier? She recoils. It's unfair. Valerie and Arthur are beginning a family. Hold on, I get to my feet. Simply stop. They don't deserve my money since they are pregnant. They are not superior to me because of their marriage. And it won't work anymore if you come here to guilt trip me. I am both your daughter and your mother. However, you have never once inquired about my business achievements or aspirations. I made my way to the window. Are you aware of our role here? What does Axiom Tech really produce? She doesn't speak. We provide software that makes it easier for small businesses to compete with larger companies. We assisted 3,000 family companies in surviving the recession last year. I have 400 employees. I've produced something significant. I look back at her. All you see, though, is a money account that could be able to support your priceless firstborn. That is untrue. Really. So why have you come here to congratulate me for creating a profitable business? Or persuade me to give Arthur cash? I've got my response and she looks away. I believed so. I hit the intercom button. Would you please come in, Sylvia? Sylvia shows up right away. Indeed, Miss Green. Show my mom out, please. An update. The policy for visitors. Not a single member of the family is absent. Mom Louisa, get up. You can't just I am, and I can. I take a seat again. And Mom too. That trust money you and your father established for Arthur's child, the one you brought up at last month's dinner, perhaps use that as a down payment on their home. Her face gets pallid. How did you, Mom? I'm a CEO. I deal with information. I dismissed her and opened my laptop. Sylvia will take you on a tour. When she's gone, I open my email. Keith Olson has left a message. Have you heard the turmoil in the family? Are you prepared to sell yet? Everybody has a cost. 2 words were typed back by me. Not all of them. Marin texts me and my phone buzzes. Beverages. It appears that you require them. Yes, God. I'll see you in 20. I pick up my coat and make my way to the elevator. I go by the wall of press clippings and stories on the Axion tax increase, our innovations, and our influence in the lobby. Only LJ is mentioned, not my name. Green CEO and founder. Arthur receives another SMS. This family has been devastated by you. I return the type. No, I simply quit allowing it to ruin me. I block his number after that. Breathe deeply as you go outside into the evening air. Facing your adversaries isn't always the most difficult aspect of advocating for yourself. It's recognizing that those who ought to have supported you were instead working against you. On a Sunday, the family intervention takes place. They pick the house where I grew up, presumably, in the hopes that my early memories may comfort me. I pulled into the driveway next Arthur's beaten-up automobile and inhaled deeply. Martin adds from the passenger seat, "You don't have to get in." She demanded to accompany me on the road. Instead, we could go out to brunch. No, let's wrap things up right. They're all waiting inside. Mom, Dad Arthur, Valerie, even my Aunt Susan. The living room is set up like a courtroom with each person facing an empty chair. We appreciate you taking the time to see us. With her palm resting on her hardly noticeable bulge, Valerie speaks. I remark standing, "Let's skip the passive-aggressive warm-up." Why have I come here? Dad clears his throat. Take a seat. Louisa, we must discuss the harm you are causing to this family. What I'm doing. I chuckle. It's really wealthy. You made your brother seem bad. Mom intervenes, turning him down for a job he really wanted. Just when they are beginning a family. He submitted an application to my business. He had no qualifications. The narrative is over. It isn't that easy. Arthur gets to his feet. You set me up on purpose. Made me appear foolish. I yell you did that yourself. Or have you forgotten how the interview went, claiming to be better than me? Children, please, says Aunt Susan. We adore you both, which is why we are here. No, I'm not the family ATM anymore, which is why you're here. I looked around at them all. Let's face it, until you learned that I was successful, none of you were interested in my profession. Before my dreams arrived with cash signs, none of you encouraged me. That is untrue, Mom objects. We were concerned. What is it about that I would be content, accomplished, autonomous? I take my phone out. Well, let's review. Last Christmas, Valerie posted on Facebook. Seeing unmarried working ladies around the holidays makes me very sad. Real fulfillment just isn't understood by certain individuals. Valerie shifted uneasily. 3 months ago, Arthur texted, Mom could cease worrying if you concentrated more on finding a partner and less on your job. I gaze at him. How are things going for you now? Everything he says is being twisted by you. We are related. Family. I raise my voice. Success is celebrated by the family. Family members support one another. You are not treated like a failure by your family, and then insist on freebies once you disprove them. You've evolved, Mom murmurs. You're cold because of success. No, Mother. I am stronger because of my success. There is a distinction. I erect my shoulders. I'm tired of disappointing the family. The warning story at dinner gatherings is over. Completed. I feel bad about following my own path. That's all then. Arthur gets up. Are you putting money bar to your family? No. I'm making my own decision. In my life for the first time. I'm making my own decision. I open my purse and take out an envelope. My attorneys have sent me a cease and desist letter. No more showing up at my office. No more pestering my staff. No more attempting to shame me into financing your life. You're serving us with legal paperwork. Dad looks astonished. Your own household. I'm defending my creation. What? You all made fun of it until you wanted a piece. I make my way to the door. I now resign from my position as a family scapegoat. Hold on, Louisa, Valerie yells. Consider the infant. The infant will be well. Mom and Dad put up the trust money for you. I made one final spin around. Valerie too, of course. Best wishes on the twins. Before sharing your ultrasound pictures on private Instagram, perhaps maintain a better record of them. Their expressions are astonished. Come out in the car with me. Moran gives my hand a squeeze. Are you all right, Albie, but I'll admit to starting the engine. One last buzz on my phone. Arthur texted, "You were underestimated by me." I will remember it. I won't whisper either. That evening, I sit in my office and gaze out at the city lights as I pull away from the house where I grew up. Lionel sits calmly next to me and gets me a cup of coffee. What's the worst thing you know, finally, I say. In reality, I wanted them to be proud of me for doing something worthwhile rather than for the wealth or success. He says they could be one day. Maybe I sit down to my coffee once the shock subsides. However, I'm no longer waiting for their blessing. A notice regarding Axion Tech's most recent invention appears on my phone. According to the headline, the tech world is being reshaped by LJ Green's vision. I grin. Your chosen family may have a clearer view of you than your birth family, and that's sufficient at times. As I sit at my desk, the Forbes photographer makes adjustments to his camera. The skyline of the city behind me. Miss Green, just one more shot. This is my first interview in public as me. Not as green as LJ it will read on the magazine cover. The best-kept secret in Silicon Valley is the lady who founded Axion Tech. He lowers the camera and says, "Perfect. The author is now prepared for you." Sarah, the interviewer, takes a seat across from me. Why now, then? After all these years, why expose who you are, right? I consider the text message I got this morning, which was a picture of my mother's newborn nieces. Not a message, only the picture. Because concealing who I am meant concealing what I have created. Some wounds take time to heal, I respond. And I'm done putting myself down to please other people. Sarah mentions that your firm recently reached a $1 billion value. Does Keith Olson's hostile takeover effort have any merit? Keith's undervaluation of women in technology was a costly lesson. I grin. When our legal team revealed his tactics, his investors were not pleased. My phone is buzzing. I got a link from Marin. This is Valerie's most recent post on her mother blog. Residing with family members that are poisonous. A path toward recovery. I nearly chuckle. The remarks are harsh. It seems that you were the poisonous one. And Miss Green, isn't it family values to demand money from prosperous relatives? I am reminded of your past by Sarah. There are whispers of conflict in the family. I was told I was wasting my time when I founded Axion Tech. I say cautiously because I learned something important from that. No one's approval is necessary for success. After the interview is over, Liana shows up carrying coffee. The Forbes launch party is being planned by Sylvia. You may also want to watch this. He gives his tablet to me. This is Arthur's profile on LinkedIn. He has accepted a position with a small startup located across the nation. His status is as follows. Sometimes, the people we underestimate teach us the most difficult lessons. Well done, I mutter. Well done, I. Really, indeed. Instead of attempting to stand on my feet, he is now at last standing on his own. Sylvia hurries into my office as the door opens. I apologize for disturbing you, but something is going on downstairs. Your dad is here. I iron my jacket, lift him up. Dad appears older than when the intervention took place, not so sure. He is holding a paper bag that we used to see every Sunday at the bakery. In an odd tone, he says, "Blueberry muffins." Your fave, Dad. Why are you here? He puts the bag down. I saw your Forbes interview pre-release. I realized that I had never really seen what you had constructed. I pointed to the seat. He sits and surveys my workplace with fresh eyes. Do you recall teaching me how to ride a bike, I inquire? You stated, I'm not going to wait. You're handling it on your own. However, you were waiting. When I let go, you plummeted. However, I stood back up. Whenever I bend forward, I learned that from you. To stand again. Why, therefore, did you lose faith in me? I never do. He gives up second-guessing. I may have been mistaken on many things. Perhaps, of course. He takes of us something out of his pocket. One of my old pictures from my first science fair. You were unique from the beginning. Unique somewhere along the road, I forgot that. Dad being different isn't bad. Now I am aware of that. He gets to his feet. Mommy? She wants to communicate and meet, but only if you're open to it. The picture of my nieces makes me think of new beginnings and second chances. Have her give my office a call. We're going to lunch. I stop. Only us. I open the bag after he's gone. The muffins smell just like Sundays in childhood. There's Lionel in the doorway. Is everything all right? Arriving. I present him with a muffin. Healing may sometimes take the form of awkward discussions and blueberry muffins. Arthur's message appears on my phone. Well done on Forbes. You deserved it. Everything. I returned the type. You did too. I hope your new work goes well. Sylvia peeks in, anticipating the board meeting. I straighten my clothing on my desk and get up. The Forbes documentation demonstrates my photo's success rather than concealment or remorse. What do you know? I pick up my laptop. I'll be ready in no time. Because sometimes proving someone incorrect or shutting them off isn't the greatest form of retaliation. They are sometimes compelled to develop as it surpasses its boundaries. And occasionally, just occasionally, such development results in a family-like relationship. But on your terms this time.